The following podcast contains opinions which are intangible and pose no threat to your safety. It also contains spoilers, which are very real and may harm your viewing experience. You've been warned.
It's just doing them a favor, you know. If you're expecting greatness and you fall short, we all know.
No, you're right. Yes, we all know what falling short is like.
Yes, somewhat.
It is the shame. Yes, the shame of inadequacy.
That would be a better name for our podcast.
Just the shame of inadequacy with Cam and Bam. No, thank you.
Yeah. No one would listen to that. Like, oh, too real. It's too close to home. I listen to this to relax, to let go. I don't need to be reminded of my shortcomings as a human being. Well, you know,
realism.
That's
and my escapist fantasy. What?
No, thank you. But
nope, can't do it.
Can't really say as a human being, right? That totally cuts off part of our audience. You know, if we have extraterrestrials or cryptids listening.
Man, don't scare me like that. Cryptids. Bigfoot is a huge fan of ours.
They might not be listening, but they could be.
Well, Well, hopefully we don't have any Nordic gods listening because they're going to be pretty fucking mad.
That would seem very targeted. Oh, the shame of inadequacy. And what are they? Oh, I see how this is.
Oh, I see how it's going.
Norse lives matter.
Up there. Norse lives matter. Oh, man.
To some, perhaps.
What? Not to fucking Kratos, though.
No. But that's
he don't
okay.
Fucking care.
I mean, can you imagine if he was like, I'm going to kill you, but I respect you as a person.
I respect you. See, that's the thing, though. The way these games love to portray gods, it's always, you can tell it's like a human narrative, right? It's like these guys are like, oh yeah, I'm a human, and these people think they're better than me. They think they're better than me. Fuck those guys. And then that's every game about gods, right?
I love it though, right? Because they're so insecure. It's like I'm sitting here with my job that pays okay, with like a okay house, and I'm like sort of good at some stuff, and occasionally I see another person and I'm like, what is my point? Like, you're doing everything so much better than I am. What is my purpose, right? But like, we're talking about beings that can move the mountains and create lightning and shift the tides themselves, and they're like, his car's nicer than mine,
right?
Which means there's no hope whatsoever for the non-gods among us.
Whatever. Listen, it's all about perspective, right? Like, that's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, my perspective is about 5 feet off the ground. You know, another thing that gods can do that I can't. How do the humans in these stories get up in the morning? Like, we know for a fact that we don't have to contend with Poseidon or, you know, Thor.
That's very true. Like, there's no worry about some cosmic being just destroying us at any given time.
Well, you can't. That'll drive you insane. I've read Lovecraft.
Right? Everyone knows.
We just delude ourselves into this nice little fantasy world where we're not really willing to, like, oh, hey, look, it's Cthulhu. My brain don't work.
My brain don't work. I'm insane now. Goodbye. Yeah, that was. I hate oceans because of Cthulhu, right?
Dude, I hate oceans because of oceans. But go on.
Right? No, I remember seeing this image of like this tiny little boat on the horizon, and then there was like a mountain behind him. But it turned out the mountain, but like you keep panning your eyes upwards, and then eventually you realize, oh, that mountain is Cthulhu. And
that's okay. I didn't want to sleep tonight. It's fine.
That's exactly what that does. Like, there's just this like inherent dread that comes from like seeing or thinking about that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I have no control over anything.
There's that.
Like, it's just that anxiety that I do not want to deal with. It's like, no. I'm not done. And like, now that like, when I think about like the ocean and that like there could be something that massive looming underneath it, like it's a good parallel for.
We need to set some harder guidelines on how we're gonna do this thing because that is my biggest, granted, irrational phobia in the world. I'm not joking. I'm not playing this up for effect.
Are you serious? For real?
Not Cthulhu, but like the big stuff in the ocean.
The big stuff in the ocean.
I live a terrestrial lifestyle. You know, my house has 2 stories. On occasion, I'm further away from the ocean than I ordinarily would be, right? I clearly am never going to run up against an experience where like the ocean being deep and unknown is going to affect me tangibly, but like eels and squids and I'm like shuddering just talking about it right now.
Oh, just massive creatures that would swallow you and you didn't even think about it.
Like it terrified. Like that's the thing. Like, you know, when a lot of people like lay down to bed, it's like, hey, remember that time you tried to talk to that girl and it didn't go well? Like for me, it's like, hey, remember how there's big stuff in the ocean? And then I don't sleep for hours.
That's
yeah. But just to sort of get back to the like eldritch gods, like I saw a thing and it was like how deep the Marianas Trench is, and I was like, I shouldn't be looking at this because it's going to have a negative effect on me. However, I'm going to because I'm morbidly curious. And you scroll down and like, so it's pretty true to form, right? It's like, here's where it's deep and here's this and this and that. And it goes through like the different levels of light and stuff. And then you get to the bottom and it's a massively stretched out. Yeah. And it's just like the faint outline of Cthulhu. And then his like eldritch script with like Cthulhu Volhagen, like, and I was like, no. And I clicked out and closed it and like went and hid in the corner. I just got that like primal fear, like it grips your heart with an icy hand.
Oh yeah,
and,
man,
like, it was
terrifying.
Way too real. It was like that. It's a picture. It's pixels, right? It's different colors of light. What is wrong with you? You're an adult male.
Did you ever play the first God of War games at all?
I did.
Did you ever get that feeling, like, because I know in some of them the imagery was great, where like you're running up a side of a mountain and like that's your platform, right? You're platforming or doing whatever. But then like the camera pans out and it turns out you're on the side of like a Titan or something, like and like what you thought was just like this huge rock turns out to be like the bottom of its eye.
Oh yeah.
And like you know what I mean? Like
I know what you're talking about, and I think about that part a lot for like no reason. Which like I didn't get that same feeling. Like it literally is just like the water. The water is the factor that makes it scary, because like I heard it described to one time where it's like there's like it was a gif of somebody like messing with like a stingray or a sea lion or something, and they like hit it and tried to run away, and it's like, oh, I'm a clumsy human and I do not have like aquatic locomotion really down,
right? And
the seal or whatever it was like just pounced on this guy out of the water, and someone commented, and it's like, you're in their realm, why are you messing with them? Like they're millions of years worth of how do I move in this stuff, and we're clumsy humans. So I think that's part of it, right? Like I know if I'm in deep ass water or even just like an open water and some big thing shows up, I can't go anywhere. I mean, I can go down, like right? But that's right, like the last direction I want to go in. There's a helplessness where like you can't move, right? Like it's like you said, it's not your element, so to speak. Yeah.
So you're it's almost like a gigantic prison where things much more powerful, faster, and larger than you, they're your wardens. And that's no bueno.
It's starting to sound less irrational when you continue to rationalize it for me.
Well, well, you're welcome. Only 13 years of psychology, right? Like,
right.
Might as well go somewhere with it.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Right.
Yeah, but the I think it was Atlas was who he was climbing. Or it was one of the Titans. I can't remember which one. But the part that stuck with me was like, Kratos climbed up the mountain for 3 whole days. It's like, I wouldn't climb up a mountain for 3 whole hours. 3 whole minutes even, right?
I was going to say minutes, really.
Places, you get to the top, you're like, enough with this, okay?
I'd be like 10 minutes in, and I'm like,
it smarts.
Where's my oxygen? Where's my oxygen?
This is criminal negligence on the part of this rock climbing place not giving me oxygen.
I wish I just one of these days I'm gonna just take an oxygen take up on one of those rock climbing walls and just see what they say. Just see what they say about it.
Yeah. Someone gets up there like, dude, do you really need the oxygen tank? It's like, not if I want to die.
Right.
So I'm Cam.
And I am Bam.
And this is Bits, Chips, and Flip Scripts.
Welcome, everyone.
It's the podcast where we take a look at elements of gameplay and narrative in video games, change up a thing or two, and speculate how it would affect the rest of the game. So basically, in layman's terms, the butterfly effect on a video game-sized scale.
Like, video games in general are inherently, like... I mean, like, they're basically kind of like the way all media should be, right? Something that's... And it's kind of the way media is going. It's something super interactive.
And personal, right? I mean, everyone's journey is different. No one plays BioShock the same way. You know, I'm the type of person I have to scrounge for everything, but some people just run to the end, you know?
Yeah, so being able to take it and mess with it just a little bit and see, like, how... Or and speculate, you know, how that outcome would shift. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Sure, it's very anti-BioShock Infinite, where none of your decisions matter.
Oh, no!
I actually...
already starting with the jab. First
thought
episode.
That game was fine.
I like that game, all right.
It's fine.
Honestly,
it was entertaining, right? I don't hate the time I spent with it.
No, that was actually my problem with my problem with what's it called? Last of Us. The Last of Us felt very much, it was very linear. And I get it, because it was more focused on the narrative than it was anything else, right? It was trying to tell a story, but it felt, for all the, like, exploration that we could do, it was just so railroaded. It really took away your agency, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Good thing this isn't a game design podcast. I'd have some
I know,
to say
right?
about that.
But, yeah. This game, though, however, actually, I feel like does a really good, like, because this is also a very narrative-heavy game that we're going to be talking about, and it handled exploration pretty well, I feel like. But at the same time, I never felt like it mattered if I had agency or not, because this is God of War.
It is.
It's
called
soft
that
reboot. It is called God of War. Today we're gonna be looking at God of War, the new one, the soft reboot. I guess that kind of dates us a little bit, but whatever. It's new now. That's fun enough.
Sure. Well, I mean, we did partially pick this because, you know, Father's Day is around the corner, and it just came out. I mean, it's a pairing made in Valhalla.
Yeah. Oh, we're no longer in Greece. What up? Now it's all about them Nordic gods.
It is. Yes, which means, thank goodness, no more men in sandals.
What is? Okay, so that's the thing, right? So this game is often referred to as Dad of War, and I will say
Dad of Boy. I've actually heard it.
Dad of Boy. I love it.
Thanks to Jim Sterling for that one.
But this is a game where I feel like this guy is the least dad I've ever seen. You know what? Because he should be wearing socks with sandals. He should be making constant puns all the time. No pun. He doesn't make a single pun. What? This guy thinks he's a dad? This isn't a dad.
Wait, so the change you would make from Greece to Norway is not sandals to boots, but sandals to socks with sandals?
Listen, it's
Your
colder, right?
He's got to
be warmer. He's got to be warmer.
I like it. No, you know what? If he just needs to play his role, man. Like, you're a dad now. That comes with a whole new set of responsibilities. What?
It does.
Taking care of your kid, making sure they eat? No. Lame jokes and socks with sandals.
That's the way this game should have been. This is what this episode should just be about. How if we gave Kratos socks with sandals, it would change the entire game.
It would. However, we didn't do that, actually.
Nope. We actually got a more important change, but we'll get to that in just a second here. Let's go ahead and give a brief explanation of the narrative of this game.
All right. Yeah. So in this game, we follow Kratos, who is our hero, our titular hero, actually, from the first 3 God of War games. I guess not.
Yes, he is the God of War.
Not in the first one. Was it the end of the first one where he actually became the God of War proper?
Yeah, he kills, spoiler alert, he kills Ares.
Yeah,
and then he's like, I am God of War now.
13-year-old game, like, if they haven't played
right.
It's, you know. Oh, and also, Han Solo is Luke's dad.
What?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
that now I don't have to go see the new movie.
No,
Not
you
that I would
don't.
anyway, because
Yeah.
it looks bad.
It's
But
actually
anyway.
just an hour and a half of Luke's conception. Yeah.
Ew.
Actually,
Oh,
but
that's
it was an immaculate conception because it's called Solo.
Oh, that's just No, you cannot. Do not. You can.
I get one.
You get one, and that is it.
Getting back on topic here.
Uh,
Following
go for it.
Kratos, the erstwhile god of war. I guess I don't know. Anyway, let's not get bogged down in details. And his son on a journey to spread the ashes of his Kratos' lover and the mother of the boy of whom
Yes.
Kratos is the dad. Her name is Faye.
Yes, that's true. The son is named Atreus, right?
Yes. Yeah, which is it's low-hanging fruit, Atreyu, because like never-ending story, and also that band that a lot of people in high school seem to like.
Listen, I would have felt so much more for this kid if he ended up losing his horse. I cried at that scene, man.
Oh, who didn't?
Where
Got two eyes and a heart.
So sad. If you got two eyes. So Kratos obviously would not care. He'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, right. Because he only has one eye.
Yeah.
One of them's glass. Oh,
Really? I don't remember that.
no, that's not true. But I got you. Why did I use my one air horn already?
I don't. Please do not again.
I won't. No, my phone is far from reach.
Good. So it's Daddy Kratos, little boy, and they need to spread the ashes of their mother. And in doing so, Kratos has been trying to keep his life free from the shenanigans of gods, right? He spent the last trilogy killing all these gods. He wants nothing else to do with them.
Yeah,
He's done. He's done with gods. He's a full-on atheist. He doesn't care anymore.
I mean, would that is that? It is atheist, right? Like gods don't exist. I know. I killed them.
I killed them all, right? Like he knows, right?
That
That's
is
his belief.
the radical extreme of atheism. That's one end of the spectrum, pal.
That atheist would be so much cooler if they killed gods, like as opposed to just complaining that
God
one
is
still
dead,
exists.
and I killed him. Nietzsche. All right, I feel bad saying that. I was raised in a Christian household. Got that guilt.
Nah, it's good, man. That got that good old Catholic guilt. So yeah, but unfortunately, while Kratos is trying to keep his life free from gods, the Nordic pantheon decides they're going to intervene for some stupid reason. And so Kratos figures out that they're just as selfish and arrogant as the Greek pantheon. And as they try to thwart him, he goes through and systematically is working his way to kill them because all he wants to do is be a good father, right? He just wants to teach his son the ways of the land and spread his dead wife's ashes on the highest mountain.
Yeah, and that is such a good example of like, leading by example. Oh God, I used example twice.
Do not follow Cam's example, but
use word better.
Word better, please.
His overarching goal, his long-term payout is like, I'm a good dad, but moment to moment, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't make a single pun, so he's a bad dad. We already know this.
What else would I have been talking about? Oh, right, his lack of socks with sandals.
You're right, exactly on the point. He's a bad dad when it comes to the worst. But so what we're going to do now is we're going to make a simple basic change to an element of this game and just sort of speculate from there on in what would change from it. So our big change that we're doing to this game is we're going to make it so that Kratos is the mother of Atreus. And I want to be very specific about this because we're only changing one element.
Yes, which there's a couple points to make there.
Right. So we're not just making Kratos a female. We're not making it so that Faye is a father or whatever. All it simply is that Kratos is a woman who birthed Atreus. Faye is still a woman. Nothing else in the game shifts. All of the last 3 games, all that history, it's all still the same. The difference is Kratos is the mother of Atreus.
Yeah, which
and from there
we picked a good game for that, right? Because the whole sort of conceit of the game is like that all happened, but now it's some new stuff, right? So like,
well, that's right.
Put a little
It'll be
frosting
interesting
on
because
it.
this is supposed to be like a soft reboot, right?
Yeah, now I'm
So,
kind of mad at them for not making him the mom.
That's I actually the more I thought about
Call
this,
this
the
a
more
reboot.
interesting it's. Call this a reboot, more like a normal boot.
Oh.
Planet. I got nothing. So anyway, let's just get right into it, shall we? All right. Okay, so I think what we'll do from here, and you have to play along with us, folks. This is first episode, right? So we're gonna kind of just start with how we think, and we're gonna go with it kind of chronologically. So Cameron, I want to hear your first change that you think would result from Kratos being the mother of Atreus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is pretty obvious, Bam, but what does Lady Kratos look like?
Ooh, do you think Lady Kratos has a beard? I was thinking, I was wondering if Kratos was a mom. You know, like, I don't know about you, but, like, I feel like a mom, especially this is, like, an older mom, right? She'd probably have some whiskers, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
it's just the inevitable march toward death, right? I mean, it's just your body
oh my God.
betrays you left and right, so...
Hormones
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah. She's got a few dark and curlies up there on her face.
I like.
Yeah,
So,
but, you know, that's in the harsh Nordic winter. Like, that could be an advantage, right? Keeps your
keeps you warm,
keeps your
and
mug
keeps you
warm.
cozy.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So the fact that Kratos is now a mom does not change the fact that Kratos has more facial hair.
Right.
Probably less facial hair than as Papa Kratos, but still.
Right.
Still, it's
right.
got-
But probably
it's got a
more well
relative amount.
sculpted.
Oh yeah. Oh well, you know, she's probably going at it with like that knife, you know, the phase knife.
Oh, yeah.
Probably just like scraping off a
wait.
little bit.
Is
getting
that?
at it.
Did we just stumble upon? Is that her weapon? Is this dagger game instead of
Well,
axe game?
because remember, Faye is still apart. Like Faye doesn't change, so she still has that dagger, and Atreus would probably still go and grab it, right?
Yeah.
So I think Atreus keeps the dagger.
Okay.
Yep. No. Now my first change, that I think would happen or would result from this is that Atreus would have a middle name.
Oh,
Because
yes.
You know the
'cause that's
moment he
coming
does
out.
something, the moment he does something wrong, you're like, Atreus Augustus, you get your butt back here. You know what I mean? Like, he would have a middle name, and it would be called out every single time he does something wrong.
Atreus Benjamin, you get off the neighbor's lawn. Never mind the fact that it's 2 miles away.
Don't you take that tone with me, Atreus Augustus.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, there's no other houses, right? I mean, I know where you go anyway, in the, like, vicinity of the house. There aren't any. So, yeah, lawn's probably about 2 miles away, at least.
Probably. I mean, this
At
is the old
least.
countryside, right? That old Nordic countryside.
Yeah. Oh, but they're European, so it's meters.
Oh, no, you're right.
Like,
So
60,000 meters.
So
I did that
feel like
conversion. Yeah, 2 miles, 60,000 meters.
Oh,
totally,
very nice.
Totally not blowing smoke. No, this is a well-researched podcast. We're not just a couple
This
of
is
amateurs.
very well researched.
throwing
This is
spaghetti
all
at a wall.
scientifically accurate. Everything, nothing is speculation. Everything is proven with evidence.
Well, it would have to be, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
where's our authenticity come from otherwise?
But yeah, that's definitely something. And I feel like Atreus having a middle name would also kind of roll into the fact of how Kratos would treat Atreus. And that is to say, Daddy Kratos is very stoic.
Yes.
Daddy Kratos is a person who is like, I say few things, but
He's
I
as cold as his Leviathan axe makes his enemies.
He is. He's heartless. Well, he's not heartless. He's seen some shit, right? He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
But he's very concerned about how he appears. He wants his son to see him as this person who knows all, almost in a way. He holds himself up to that very quiet, very everything I say matters kind of attitude. And I feel like Mama Kratos would not care. Mama Kratos is gonna call out shit instantly.
No, I mean, Mama Kratos is going to say many things that young Atreus probably wishes she hadn't brought up in front of the neighborhood kids, right?
Aw.
They don't need to know I wet my bed till I was 5.
Oh gosh.
Mom!
Dude, man, I had to clean out that straw every night. You need to grow up. Stop being scared of monsters.
You know how hard it is to get rubber sheets in freaking Norway?
and the early, like, what is this pre-Christ?
That's gotta
This
be
is
BC,
pre-Christ, right? Yeah. So like, I feel like there's definitely going to be a shift in treatment there.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because actually, what I started with was my second point. My first point was there's basically two kind of moms, and I basically look at it as two ends of sort of the horseshoe, and so they both happen to relate to John Benjamin characters. So sort of
sure.
the extreme to one direction is Linda Belcher, right? She's like
okay, very nice.
very supportive and warm and loving and thinks that everything her kids do is the most amazing thing that's ever happened. Like,
sure, yeah.
She'd be great in an audience for a magician. Especially if that magician was one of her children.
Right.
And on the other end, you have Mallory Archer, who's sort of cold head bitch in charge, you know, constantly belittling her kid and also somehow also being way overprotective. Like, I don't know how being like distant and being overprotective makes any sense, but one writer for Archer, actually, interestingly enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Adam Reed, the creator, is the only writer for the show. He makes it work, right? She's mean and and he's always fighting back with her. But then like the second he gets in trouble, it's like, Sterling, you get here right now.
Right. Well, I mean, she's human, right? Like there's more than just the two dimensions to any good character, right?
Yeah.
So despite the fact that she couldn't be cold, she can also show some form of compassion, as slight as it might be. And I feel like that's interesting because I was doing a little bit of like a history research here. And I was looking, so the fact that nothing changes outside of Kratos being the mom, that also would suggest that Kratos is still from Sparta, right?
Okay.
And I was looking up into like how Spartan women were raised, and because I thought like it would this is where the meat of the changes would come from.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, not really. I mean, Spartan women were trained to fight and trained to be fit just as much as the men were. The biggest difference is that they were they were kind of the head of the household, but at the same time, they were also sort of expected to be more diplomatic. Like they handled a lot of politics, if that makes sense. There were, for every great Spartan man who was ahead of some BS, there was a woman behind him who was telling him what to do. And interesting enough, that's also how ancient Nordic women were. We used to think that as far as like Nordic women go, like they didn't do anything but stay in the house, right? But now we've found evidence that suggests that not only did they come on boats with the Vikings when they were going around and destroying territories of these other poor people,
Viking
but they
things.
were also Viking things, raping, pillaging, the such. Not only were they with them, but they were also the ones who would form diplomacy, who would start the new towns in the new Viking territory that was created, or gathered, I suppose, that was taken over.
Okay.
And I feel like that would also sort of implement its way into how Kratos would be a mom.
And a mayor, apparently.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? I feel like, and this would be interesting for gameplay too, is basically what would happen is Kratos wouldn't be a fists first, think later person. They would very much more be a mediator, so to speak.
Okay.
Willing to talk. And I feel like in gameplay, what this could do is you could open up like dialogue trees, right? We're already switching the gameplay a little bit, taking notes from other games. yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, well, I mean, you don't have to go too wild with it, but
so it's like Spartan Rage would be just a string of like really, really deep cutting insults that you didn't want anyone to bring up. Right, you were just really hoping they didn't pick up on the fact that you limped a little bit because you weren't good at sports as a kid.
This is a mom. That rage is still there. In fact, if anything, you should hit that Spartan rage quicker, right? Like it should just snap and like, oh, here, all gloves are off. I'm coming at you.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. So instead of like you have to go through like 3 or 4 fights for it to build up, like you just have to wait till like someone trips your kid with a stick and it goes from 0 to 100.
It. Yep, instantly. But on top of that, yeah, I feel like for example, like when in the first part of the game where you meet like the stranger, right? Like it would be interesting to see some kind of dialogue tree where
she wouldn't let Atreus talk to him.
What?
Because he's a stranger.
Okay,
it's like Mom 101.
Okay, that should be Dad 101. That's just parenting.
Don't know where
101.
that's been. Don't talk to strangers.
Kratos fails at that too.
Well,
Although, I guess to be fair, his kid is inside while he's getting the crap beat out of him.
yeah,
So that's not really his fault. But
in the basement.
no, but yeah, I feel like that would be interesting. So like, in the game, you could use Mama Kratos to sort of get a leverage of things. Not so much bypass combat, because combat is the meat of the game, right? You were interested in fighting things and tearing things apart, but maybe somehow gaining leverage over characters, so much as gaining their trust before you stab them in the back or something cool like that.
Sure.
Something very Kratos would do, right?
Yeah, so maybe, or like, maybe they could sort of borrow the like dragon shout thing from Skyrim, where like your words have power. Like you're such an effective mediator that the word like disappointment like wraps around your enemy and binds them in place. They're just like, what have I done? Every choice I've ever made has brought me to this point. I'm getting yelled at by someone's mom.
That's so real. That's just like instead of like a Fusro Da, it's just I'm not angry, but I am disappointed. And then just like, oh, like it just like his wrists get bind to the floor. Like, oh no! And then
it's the most powerful words in the. Well, I guess they speak English to us,
right? In the Nordic. But speaking of combat, let's sort of move into that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier changing the axe,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know what you were thinking, but my thing is since we're going based off of more of both a more Spartan and a Nordic woman, like or women in history, right? In Norse mythology, or not even Norse mythology, or Norse history, they had shield maidens. So women weren't often seen in battle. Battle was definitely a male thing, and even that's the case even in Sparta. But unlike in Sparta, in like Viking culture, when men would get killed in battle, the woman of the household will just be like, well, looks like I'm going to start fighting now. And they were known as shield maidens. And I think it would be interesting to take less, so she could still have an axe, but the Leviathan quote unquote axe wouldn't really be the primary weapon there. Instead,
so it'd be
shield...
more like a bottlenose dolphin axe.
What?
A Leviathan in mythology is a giant whale.
A gigantic. Well, okay, yeah. I was thinking of a kraken. No, you're right. The Leviathan's a big old whale.
Yep.
So instead, it's just a tiny little bottlenose dolphin, and then that makes that like a hatchet, right? You could just shrink it in size.
Makes that adorable noise.
That is. Has sex with dead fish parts. Yeah, adorable.
Right. Yes. All the things you would expect an axe to do when it had the qualities of a dolphin.
I don't get why people think dolphins are cute, man. Dolphins are terrifying. Those guys, they're not cool. They are not cool.
I can't look at that situation and not blame Douglas Adams. Right. I mean, they're the unsung heroes of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So like, they're very pure, very sympathetic. They're apparently smart. They jump through rings.
They're too smart, man.
But
they're
behind
scary.
those eyes, there's just a tumult of perverted fish acts, and dolphins are the real problem.
Dolphins are the real problem. But on top of that, just because you brought up Douglas Adams, my parents went to a wedding, like a nerd wedding.
Excellent.
And they brought home these towels that had the big thumbs up, and it said "Don't panic" on it. And I was like, I am taking that. So I just got that recently, and
cool. So we're both gonna rob your house.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
shouldn't have put that on a recording. Crimes, everybody, don't do them.
Don't do them, please.
Unless you really want to.
Hey, I don't. Well, I'm not your mom. I'm not your mom. Kratos is the mom.
That's true.
And with
tactful.
Yeah, right. Thank you. So the axe takes a backseat, and then I think the shield would become the primary weapon, because both in Sparta and in Norse mythology, shields play a strong role, especially with Nordic shield maidens, and in Spartan you got that whole the phalanx and all, or phalanx, however you pronounce it.
I couldn't tell you. It's been lost to the ages. Nobody knows.
But yeah, no one knows.
It was originally written in Greek hieroglyphics.
Oh yes, of course. It's like in Futurama. We have no idea about the past. We all just make it up as we go. So I feel like there's a game that's called Rhaegar. Super fun, but the main mechanic is that you throw a shield around.
Okay.
And you use this shield both for protection and for offense. or defense and offense. And I feel like that would make some really cool gameplay, and would also sort of I feel like with that you could reintroduce what I think this game lacks, because this game takes a page from the book of Dark Souls, right?
Oh yeah.
It's very much focused on strategic combat, but with Rhaegar, using your shield to like as both a ranged and a close weapon, there's a lot of cool combos and stuff that you can do, and I feel like you could bring back some of those combos that made the first 3 games so much fun, because this game focuses a lot on single target damage, and to me it gets a little tedious.
Sure. And like, later in the game, just to draw sort of a parallel that I think you were sort of putting out there, like when you do, spoiler alert everybody, fast forward if you don't want to hear a spoiler, when you get the Blades of Chaos later, like it's a little jarring, right? Like,
yeah,
like because when you look at it, the first 3 games like were about the Blades of Chaos. Everything sort of flowed from there. It's like, hey, what if a guy had some cool blades on chains that stuck to his arms? And it's like, wait a sec, Reynolds, get on this. Yeah, because I mean, really, like all the gameplay is tied into that. Every single thing comes back to, well, you're a guy with blades on chains. And I mean, granted, you get other weapons later in most of the games, but I mean, just the fast-paced manic combat where you Dynasty Warrior style, you're swinging your blades out to both sides and you kill 16 guys at one time.
Right.
And the cameras all zoom back so you can see the whole battlefield, right? It worked. But then you get the Blades of Chaos, and like I totally get like the nostalgia factor, and like, it's pretty cool, and they weaved it into the story pretty well, but at the same time, like, just it's so much slower and more deliberate, and like it just feels like the antithesis of what those weapons were invented for.
Right. No, I absolutely agree, and I feel like what you could do with like if Mama Kratos, right, is using the shield, you could bring back more of that crowd controlling, right? Throwing your shield through multiple enemies, or having it like spin around you, or do something cool. Because that's the thing, right? And in this game, Papa Kratos, he uses that axe and he throws it like a boomerang, but it never hits more than one enemy. There are runic upgrades, but I didn't see if any of them could like, just plow through multiple enemies at once. And for the most part, you're only fighting like 4 guys at a time.
Right. There's not a lot of opportunity to like test that theory, even if you really wanted to. Yeah,
you get some cool stuff where you can like smash the ground and have ice come up or freeze enemies or do whatever. And even Atreus helps out. He can summon these like animals and stuff, spirit animals or whatever. But at the same time, it's much slower and it's much more methodic, I understand. But at the same time, I feel like when you're rebooting a game, I feel like that gives you the excuse to do it. But it would be more fun for me, or what I expect from a God of War game, to have a little more of that overpowered feeling. I want to feel like a god. You know what I mean? I just
100%.
Not so much in the Dynasty Warrior aspect. Like I can't like, killing 30 people at once. I get it. That's lame. But
it's
still,
like visceral fun. But yeah.
I feel like more crowd control would be a lot fun. Just swinging your shield around, and you could also get that close combat too, right? Like it's still a shield, right? You're using it for defense as well as attack, and I feel like that creates some fun moments too, where it's like you have to make the call: am I going to be defensive or am I going to be offensive? Because when I'm being offensive, I can't just like hide away in a shield. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's interesting. It gives you choices, right? Like, I mean, you can throw the shield and like maybe you can jump off of it, like you stick it on the ground, use it as a launch pad, but then you don't necessarily have like the damage, so you got to make sure that either they're like just about to die or it's like just one person, right? And then you have to go back and I don't know. I mean, does the shield still have the return capabilities that the axe has?
That's what I'm thinking. It would be super cool just to be. It's basically the axe, but as a shield, right? So it still does the freezing shit. It still does the boomerang effects.
But it looks way cooler. Like
it looks way cooler.
At least the first couple shields that Kratos gets in the actual game are so lame. Like they've got fun designs, but like they're not. I don't know. Like, oh, our shield has to be functional, before we tear this guy's head off with our bare hands. Like, some ridiculousness is merited, but let's not get carried away with the shield here.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, why did they limit it there? Is it because they wanted a heavier focus on the axe? But I mean, like the axe can only do so much anyway. Like it felt like there was more potential there that they just didn't take. I mean, I'm not a game designer. I don't know if who knows what they were dealing with. They could have had like cut budget. They could have had like, oh, we have to put this out in this amount of time, whatever. There's all kinds of things that could have taken place. But I would have liked to see a little more, like, just, go ham with it. That being said, I feel like, yeah, so as the shield maiden, Mama Kratos can use this shield to do all these other things. But with that more crowd controlling aspect, she could also like implement more like environmental effects in battle, which I think the axe was prime for. The axe is prime like, for. And I don't know
why. Drop some snow on some people, like icicles, right? Like, let
me cut a tree down and have it like fall on people or something. Like they did great with the environmental effects for puzzle solving.
Sure,
I like that stuff. And, I mean the shield could do the same. But like as far as in battle, I felt like they just sort of dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many times can you throw an axe and bring it back until it's like, okay, this like ceases to be novel?
Sure, that's my thing, right? And they did change it up because you don't have to use the axe. No. You can go in with your fists, which just feels good.
Yeah,
that's when combat should be slow because every punch feels like it hits.
Yes,
which is super cool.
Not to mention, like your best ability makes you use your fists. So.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're Spartan Wrath, dude. I would love to see angry Mama Kratos just like instead of fists going in, just like slapping the crap out of this dude.
Yeah.
Like open palm, just wailing them in the face. Oh my gosh, it'd be so great.
This is really riding the line between like mom stereotypes and like offensive female stereotypes. So, like maybe she like it's a purse, like starts whacking him with it or something.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, wait, does she wash their mouths out with soap?
Oh my gosh, yes! That is exactly what
your Harker walks up and it's like, oh, it's like, oh, you come here. You are going to put this in your mouth and you're going to sit here on the toilet.
That's the stun, right? When she builds up that stun meter, and instead of ripping them in half, she takes a bar of soap and just sticks her right in her mouth.
They're just done, right? They can't fight anymore. They're good as dead at that point.
They're good as dead. She defeated them. She defeated their pride is what she did. And so they just sulk away. I love it.
At that point, you'd almost just rather die.
Yeah, exactly.
Please just tear me in half. Why do I have dove in my mouth?
I love it. That's absolutely a thing. It's canon. It has to be canon. That is great. I love it. But yeah, oh gosh, that's super great. I love it. But yeah, and from there too, like with the since we're talking about combat, the other thing too, I feel like this is more, I don't know if this is more of a mom thing than it is just a parent thing, but Papa Kratos didn't do it, and I feel like Mama Kratos would, and that is simply just being more protective, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like it would be interesting to make it so that like instead of I like Atreus as an AI partner.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, yeah, that's you. No, that's all right. I mean, but like as an AI partner,
yeah.
I feel like he's great. He's great because he's immortal, basically.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about him getting hurt. He does help you when he can. He's just got like a couple cooldowns. That's whatever. I feel like he's super effective in that manner. But I feel like there's a lack of that gets involved with that though, and I'm thinking of what's the name of the girl from Last of Us, Ellie, right?
Ellie,
from Last of Us, yeah. And I'm thinking about like when she gets in trouble, like I would while playing that game, she would get in trouble, and I would have moments of oh no you don't,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I'd
rush to her. Yeah, exactly.
That is your kid at that point.
Exactly. It's like oh don't you dare like. I feel like this is kind of lacking, but of course, I mean, you're playing as Papa Kratos, right? You don't want to. You're not there to worry about your kid. You're there to.
No, why would a dad ever want to do that?
Exactly. No, this game is designed so that you beat the crap out of things and you feel good about it. I feel like they missed the mark a little bit on that, and it would be better to implement some more. Maybe. It's hard because I know it can be super annoying real quick when like you have to go like revive your crappy AI partner, right?
Yeah, well,
or
I
companion.
think you're wrong. I think that was everyone's favorite part of Yoshi's Island.
Oh yeah, that was great. The baby crying. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I love it. It was so
super
awesome.
effective, definitely. Like that provided a real like diegetic, like a human need to like we need to rescue this baby. Oh, why? Because he's sad? No, because he's really annoying.
Because regardless, though, like you had to help out that baby just to get it to shut up.
Oh yeah.
I feel like, but they could do this too. So like, especially because now like we've implemented the shield thing, right? So the whole idea is of a shield, right, is to be protective, is to be defensive. So I feel like you could have Atreus be more aggressive, but you could also have him draw like he's a bigger, he draws more aggro, right?
Sure.
So having that, it would give you a need to go in and sort of protect him and use that shield.
So it's funny that you bring that up, like, because I sort of touched on a similar thing. Like, I guess, again, sort of took it more to its extreme. Like, the kid gets hit and you just go berserk, right? Like, that's your superpower. But then, like, it really becomes kind of self-defeating because then it becomes of like a game of like, how much can I let my son get beat up so that I have the most power possible, right? And then so it just becomes this really abusive gameplay loop. Like, you don't want the son to get hit, but you kind of do because you want to break people's faces open.
Right. There'd have to be a way to balance it, right? You want to feel like this is something that you care about and you want to protect it, but at the same time, yeah, you don't want to exploit it, right? You don't want it to be like, oh yeah, let me throw this kid in front of this thing so I can hurry up and get my Spartan rage meter up,
right?
Like, well, that's something you want to address.
That's not we don't need to figure that out. That's actually the game designer's job.
Yeah, we'll let them figure it out.
And you care about him, and when he gets hurt, you get super powerful. But we can't let people just throw their kid to the wolves. And, it's like, I will say, like, my bar is pretty low as far as, like, caring about just, like, one-off characters. Like,
sure.
I get pretty empathetic, even if the writers, like, take just the littlest amount of time to give me some sort of a personal connection to that character. But, like, yeah, there's a fine line there.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's... It's definitely not an easy line to sort of. I mean, let me rephrase that. It is an easy line to cross, and you got to watch yourself for that. But
yeah, and I mean, God of War has enough targets painted on his back from like, parent interest groups. Like, oh, it's the game where kids get beat up. Like, it's the kids get beat up game. It's not a good look for anybody.
No, that's true.
I mean, like, look at something like Fallout 3. Like, literally, the only characters you cannot kill. The only human characters you can't kill are, like, the kids.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's any Bethesda game, right?
Yeah,
like,
when you turn 18 years old, you stop being fireproof.
Yeah, it's...
This is a raw deal, man. Enough goes on at that age.
Yeah, it's tough being a late teen. That's
I have to be gainfully employed, and I might catch on fire? Third-degree burns and poverty. Hooray, adulthood.
Yeah, so from there, I'm trying to think of where else we could go. A lot of the other points I make are pretty late game.
Yeah, so a lot of my points were a little bit more sort of ambient, I guess. Mm-hmm. So one of my points was vast tracts of the game script would have to be rewritten because of all the vases that get broken. We all know moms hate when vases get broken.
Oh, that could be so. Instead of crushing the chest, just like gently opening the chest.
Maybe like wipe off the silver, like that'll look nice. This will really tie the cave together.
That was one thing. Speaking of caves, I think it's interesting because this isn't really something that would change, but something that wouldn't change that I was thinking about. This game, Atreus teaches Kratos Nordic language, right? Like, or he's trying to fill out his mom's journal, so to speak.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, he wouldn't have to because Kratos is his mom. But I feel like it'd be an interesting switch though, because like it's again bringing home the whole parenting aspect of this game a little more front forward. It would be more so Kratos is teaching Atreus, and I feel like that it takes away a gameplay element of go find this. But at the same time, it sort of builds that character development and makes you care more for Atreus because you are investing in him, right?
Sure. And I think there's definitely a spin you could put on it. Like, it's interesting and it's very immersive that they're using ostensibly, and I don't know how accurate the like ancient Norse language that they speak is to actual ancient Norse language, but
well, I mean, they use the runes are proper as far as I know, but that's
Okay.
about as far as I can tell.
So,
I don't know.
like, I just
can't
think-
read the runes, right?
that'd be cool.
That would be cool. Unfortunately, they didn't teach that in school. We did learn Latin, so that
And
was
I
fun.
don't know how to do my taxes.
Oh yay! They basically, I mean, taxes are basically just like Nordic runes, right? Like no one can read
Yes.
that shit.
Yes, and accountants are all little boys with mohawks.
They all know the way. They can show
true.
us. Anyway, on that note.
So this is actually a really funny, again, just a random small detail.
Sure.
As I'm going through this game, like, I noticed there are a lot of times, and it's clearly meant to be symbolic. The kid has blood all over him, and it's meant to show sort of the loss of his innocence. He's becoming a hardened, grizzled warrior who,
Right.
bit by bit, is being desensitized to the death around him.
Sure.
But I saw that and immediately thought, like, Mama Kratos, if it was Mama Kratos, that kid would be getting a spit finger.
No, absolutely. It should be licking her thumb and like smudging it on his cheek, like, I'll
You've
get
got
that
some
off.
schmutz on your face. Then the most amazing thing happened.
Uh-oh.
The Witch of the Woods did a spit finger.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
And I, like, it was probably like 9:30 p.m. and there were other people in my house, but I wanted so badly to be like, oh, called that.
That's a great point. I wonder if Mama Kratos would be a little like almost not envious, but you know what I mean? Like there'd be like a little jealousy going on, like don't you touch my son kind of deal with
Yes, and I was trying to think about that, and it really did. It's just a little dicey, right? Like I do think that treads a little close to
I think that's more of a mom thing than is a female thing. I don't think if I were to come out and say like, oh yeah, females are inherently envious, like everyone would be like, oh yeah, you're an asshole and you're obviously wrong. But
So
I mean, like,
we're definitely cutting that part out and playing it out of context.
yes, exactly. So I feel like it works, especially from like a mother angle, because like that's her child, right? This mom spent an ungodly amount of hours forcing this child through her vagina. She cares a lot about it, and she wants it to be hers, right? Like that's just
She cares a lot about it. That's a very telling statement. Bam, you're gonna make the worst mother.
Listen, I feel like that would probably play just a little bit, but that actually goes right into my next point, and this is a huge spoiler. Not that it matters, but regardless, if you
Spoiler
care,
warning! Spoiler
Yep.
warning! Spoiler warning! And if that doesn't
gonna-
scare you away, I'm gonna use the air horn again.
No. So the big thing here is I feel like, and this is huge. So I'm just, again, a warning, but at the end of this game, Kratos finds out that Freya is the mother of the stranger who is revealed to be Balder, the god Balder, or Balder, if you will. And
I like his gate and his gate 2.
Jesus. Anyway, actually, Baldur's Gate 2 was really good.
That game was sick nasty.
But regardless, so Baldur gets really mad at his mom because she did this voodoo stuff that pretty much tortured him. She thought she was protecting him, and ultimately it made Baldur sort of not revere. What's the word I'm looking for? He hates his mom, right?
Yes, revile.
Yeah. So he tries to kill Freya, and Kratos, having developed this friendship with her, ends up killing Baldur. And Freya can't forgive Kratos for this because, that was her son.
Oh, how resonant are we getting right now?
You bet your butt. So I feel like Mama Kratos would let Baldur live. And I feel like it would tie this whole story up so well, because there would be a great parallel between how Freya treated Baldur and how Kratos treats Atreus. Did I just blow your mind or what?
Dude, no, I'm speechless, which is not helpful for an audio medium, but here we are.
It's all right. I can cut out any dead radio.
No.
Any dead air. We're good. But yeah, I feel like that would be so impactful, right? Like, so you have Mama Atreus learning to when she should be protective or if she's being overprotective, whereas at the end, like she finds out that Freya is the mother of Balder, and in order to protect Balder, she was being overprotective, and she made it so she used her magic to make it so that every living thing or everything in the universe wouldn't harm Balder. So he goes insane because he can't feel anything. He wants pain. That's the whole reason he's attacking Kratos in the first place. Just because Odin tricked him into believing that Kratos would be the one strong enough to make him feel pain.
He's a real 3 Days Grace type of guy.
Yes, this is an emo motherfucker.
Pain without love. Rather feel pain than nothing at all.
All around me are familiar faces.
It's a sad world.
But yeah, at the end, like Kratos kills Balder because Balder tries to strangle Freya, and I feel like Mama Kratos, knowing what it's like, knowing that Freya is Balder's mom, and also being a mom, an only mom with a son, I feel like there would be a stronger connection there, and Kratos wouldn't end up killing Balder. But to be fair, I don't want to limit this Kratos' personality with motherhood, right? Kratos is still, even though it's Mama Kratos, she's still a badass, and she's still full of rage.
AF.
So my thing is, instead of, because Balder becomes mortal, I don't think she would kill Balder, but let's be real, she'd probably like cut off an arm or something, like stop it.
See, and I went full mom with it, right? Like she makes him sit in the corner with his nose and against the wall.
You do
not come back over here for 5 minutes. You think about what you did.
I don't think that she would end up killing him, and I get it because the whole point is Papa Kratos has to kill Balder in order for Freya to be like, I'll get you for this, Kratos, and then you have the whole plot for the next game. Like,
that stool was not GMO free. But the fun New Game Plus practically writes itself. Like, can you imagine after spending this whole game getting crap kicked out of you by Balder, you get to be his mom and tell him what to do. The best revenge is living well, and apparently even more so when you're your enemy's mother. Maybe that's the tip top of karmic positive retribution is you just get to be whoever you hate's mom. Your high school bully is reincarnated as your son.
Oh my gosh, that would be so worth it. I would live my life right if it meant that when I die I get to come back as the mother of someone I hate and just
yeah, but that's not the case,
them.
So don't even bother with that crap. Remember, moral relativism.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, you're not the ghost of Sparta. You're doing pretty well.
You're doing pretty.
You have
good.
0 people's ashes embedded in your skin.
Oh gosh, I mean, does he still have those ashes? You think those would have washed away a little bit?
No,
right?
it's hard to notice, right? I mean, it was a pretty subtle detail to begin with, but it's with this whole super high resolution, you can definitely see that there's speckles of white in his skin.
Interesting. Because I do know a big part is when you get your blades of
chaos.
Blades of Chaos? When you get those back, Athena haunts you, and you also are haunted by images of Zeus.
Sure.
So I know there's still a connection there, but I wasn't sure if it was all if he still had those ashes or if he at some point was able to sort of find retribution. But apparently not. Apparently
no,
he's still
just still there.
ashes.
Although it's snowy,
right?
Or he could have.
I don't know.
Maybe he's got bad beard dandruff.
It's
exactly just sprinkling itself all over his arms. It's just really bad beard, dry skin. Where do you find suave conditioner in ancient Norway anyway?
I don't know, but cheap, Mama Kratos found soap, so
that's true.
So who knows? But yeah, I think that's pretty much where I end. Is it all the biggest effect at the end would be definitely that it just changes the entire ending of the game.
Right. Is that all?
At that point, and you leave with Freya as an ally as opposed to Freya being your mortal enemy, which is great because that means if you know about the secret ending, you realize Odin and Thor are your next enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're the Zeus and Hercules of this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although Hercules wasn't a big deal, or Heracles wasn't a big deal in the God of War games, but still. So I think it.
He gave you those weapons, though. Were they called the Good Punchers? Do I remember correctly? I'm pretty sure they were called the Good Punchers.
The best punchers.
They were really good at punching. The kick punchers?
I feel like kick puncher. Oh my gosh, that is a deep cut. No one knows.
I hope
no one
do.
knows what kick puncher.
Only true fans of Bits, Chips, and Flip Scripts will get this reference. 90s kids.
I applaud you for being able to say that name without slipping over it. Because I feel like I can't. I've rehearsed this a lot. I got it down.
I believe in you.
Yeah, with that, I think that pretty much wraps up the butterfly effect of God of War changing Kratos into a mom. Unless you got anything to add.
Do you think when they meet, like, the world serpent, like, he comes up out of the lake and, like, slithers away, and maybe Lady or Mama Kratos is just like, we're all real impressed. It's not the size that matters.
Oh my gosh. That is what we call bringing it full circle to the incompetency.
Yeah. Full circle. Kind of like the world serpent around Midgard. What are we talking about?
I think it's cool because, like, I feel like the change that we made originally was, like, it's super, like, big, right? Like,
it's big, but at the same time, it's like, it's not, it's like, it's a pretty natural thing. It's like, well, dad of boy, haha, because he's dead, Kratos. Wait a sec.
Wait a tick. And,
but what if he, like, wasn't?
But what if...
Can you imagine if he wasn't a dad? So all our writers are college frat boys.
That is the truth. It is the unfortunate truth, actually, that they are all dudes, probably in their between 26 and 30, or 20. We'll say 26 and 38.
It's a nice safe margin.
Yeah, they're all just a bunch of idiot dudes. But it's cool. Like, and that's why I hope this show is gonna sort of reveal. Because, like, I mean, we just started with that little change, and then, like, it was very, like, it made some subtle changes that I think overall impact the game, like, with huge implications, right? Like, I mean, just changing up little bits of gameplay and story ultimately could sort of give this game a completely different feel while still having the same God of War silhouette, if that makes sense.
Sure. No, I mean, like, even in my mind's eye, we're describing all these changes, but it's still against, like, the background that is untamed Scandinavian wilds, you know, like it hasn't gotten so far away from the source material that it's like, and now they're in freaking Denver, which is a lot like the untamed Scandinavian wilds, so that's a bad example.
It's a little bit.
They're in Peoria.
Didn't the new Far Cry, isn't that in Denver?
It's
not. It's somewhere in the American wild. Regardless, it's terrible.
The new one, Far Cry 5?
Yeah, isn't it?
It's in Montana.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It's
like Colorado, but no one wants to go there.
Oh, so exactly like Colorado.
Oh man, throwing that shade. Take that, Rockies.
All right. Okay. So now we're gonna do a little segment. Just a little something to sort of rinse our mouths out of all of that deep philosophizing we've been doing.
Get all the mom out of there.
Get all the mom out. So this will be called Quick Hits, and we're gonna do the same thing we just did with God of War, but it's just gonna be a quick little. It's gonna be that, but quick, right? That's what it comes down to, sort of.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, like, some butterflies are smaller than others, and maybe certain games aren't gonna see huge sweeping changes from one little, change to the formula.
Instead of a butterfly making a hurricane, it'll just be like a butterfly making like just a little gust of wind.
Yes. So I have one prepared, and
yes, please.
Yeah. So the game The Witness, just in case anyone doesn't know, This is a puzzle game. It's by Jonathan Blow, who's the same guy who did Braid, and I'm sure he's done other stuff. You know, kind of a visionary in the video game world, although I feel like the more time creeps by, the less people think that. I feel like he's put his foot in his mouth a lot, right? Like he just doesn't know when to stop. But I could be wrong. John Blow, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'm just repeating things I've heard. You know what? Let's slap allegedly over everything I just said. But it's a first-person puzzle game, and it's really interesting. It's set on this island, and the whole game, it just consists of you solving mazes. So you walk around in first person, your mouse controls your camera until you find one of these puzzles. You click, and then you have a cursor, you trace out the maze, and the mazes get more and more difficult. So like a big part of the game is like the atmosphere. You know, you're on this deserted island. There are no other people that you can see, except there are some like plaster statues. But it's very silent, very forlorn and solemn, and that's a big appeal of the game. So let's take it away right now. So the change I propose is that the witness has voice acting. And again, it's important to mention that is the only thing that's going to change, right? Still no people, still forlorn island, still beautiful visuals and puzzle solving. It becomes a rated M game immediately.
So there's no people, it's still just you. Where does the voice acting come in? I want to know.
There just is voice acting, right? Like, I mean, just put yourself in the protagonist's shoes, right? You're on this weird island. As a player, you don't know how you got there, so I have to assume the sort of sentiment is that the protagonist is not either. You're not going to be quiet. It's like, why am I on this island? Why are there all these puzzles? But I kept it a little more minimal than that. So as I said, it immediately becomes a rated M game because the dialogue would be 100 lines long, and every single one of them would be a different inflection on what the fuck is going on.
Just constant anger and confusion.
Yes, and again, it goes with the themes of the game, that like minimalism, right? Like he doesn't need to say a bunch of different things. He just needs to say the same thing, what we all honestly would say over and over and over. Or I guess, you could even take it, you could double the amount of voice lines, and half the voice lines would be like, how the fuck do I solve this stupid puzzle? Why is it rotating?
He's got 4 lines. Well, the protagonist, right? 4 lines, and you just hear them constantly over and over and over again.
Do you think there's a button? Is there a what the fuck is going on button that you get to press to make it happen? Or is it made all the more sweet by the fact that it only happens every so often?
I think the point of the game, right, is very much the experience. It's not so much about like your how much agency you have. So I feel like it's better if like you're just walking and then like it gets silent, and then you stumble upon something weird, and then it just blares at you like, oh, that's right, this game has dialogue. Oh,
yeah, right. It lulls you into a full sense of security. This is just a nice game, and oh my god, why are you yelling at me? Which is also very relatable. Like, how many times have you yelled at yourself and been like, why did I do that?
That's actually, oh wow.
I'm the person most invested in myself not getting yelled at, and here I am yelling at myself.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. We hope that this is a very a fruitful podcast. I feel like this has a lot of potential, and I'm hoping you guys all agree and are enjoying.
I feel like this is an idea where just sort of the more we put into it, the more we're going to get out of it, right? Like, I think the more that we indulge in this sort of fantasy, this alternate reality, and the more we're willing to just think about it, explore it mentally, I really think that there's just a lot that there is to work with there. And yeah. So, that makes me want to work hard on it.
I know, right? No, it's pretty exciting. Yeah, this has been your host. I'm Bam.
I'm Cam.
And remember, the smallest act can make the biggest changes. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, video games, or changes that we could make to them, go ahead and send those to bcandfs@gmail.com. Again, that is bcandfs@gmail.com. I want to give a special thanks to Malman for the use of his song Flowers. It's a very rad song. You can find even cooler music at his site malmen.bandcamp.com. And again, that's malmen.bandcamp.com.